Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome back. My name is George Salai. I'm the global business editor at The Hollywood Reporter in London. And I'm just spending a couple of minutes to set the stage for the next session. Next session puts the spotlight on Europe's newest big streaming service, SkyShowtime. And you might have heard about the launch that went very quickly. It took them 6 months to launch in 22 markets across Europe, from Spain, the Netherlands, to the Nordics and Central and Eastern Europe. And they launched in 18 different languages as well. So it was quite a task to do that, but they managed to do it. And the big question for us at The Hollywood Reporter has been, in streaming, do we even need more streaming services? You know, in the early days of streaming, it was all about everybody's growing and producing new things in streaming. And the last couple of years has been more about, do we need more streamers? There's so much competition. It's a crowded market. Who can succeed? Will people make money in streaming? But there's at least one man who believes there's more room for streaming, for a new streaming service, and he's none other than Monty Sarhan, the CEO of SkyShowtime. He'll come up in about a minute. I'll just give a little background on him. He has experience working for the two big Hollywood companies that are joint venture partners in SkyShowtime. Those, of course, are Comcast on the one side, the owner of Sky, and Paramount, the owner of Showtime on the other hand. And, you know, because we have two big Hollywood companies working together on this streamer, you have a lot of big series that you will know available on the service, and movies. You might have heard, for example, about Jurassic World Dominion. Yeah? Sounds familiar. I see some people nodding. There's also this other small independent movie, Top Gun Maverick. Yes, people have heard about that one too. So Monty has experience working for both of those big companies. You know, when he was at Paramount, it was actually still called Viacom, and you know, he was working in the TV networks group there, and he led the launch team for Epix, the big premium TV service. Then he worked for Comcast and negotiated a lot of the big content partnerships. Now he's the CEO of SkyShowtime, and his team put together a nice little sizzle reel to give you a little bit of a taste for what SkyShowtime looks like. Spoiler alert, it's all about entertainment, of course. So enjoy the sizzle reel, and then get ready for Showtime with
We'll show the world who we are and what we do.
It's time.
Good morning, aviators. Let's get to work.
It's SkyShowtime. A brand new streaming service.
Get ready, get set, let's go.
Hold on to your goggles! Here comes Groove!
With exclusive series.
This is not like any game you've ever played.
Will you rise to the job?
I want to be upfront with you. It could get ugly.
We're gonna deal with it together. I'm not going to be ignored, Dan.
The biggest blockbusters.
Here we go.
Whoa!
Would you like to see a magic trick?
Are you ready?
Come and get me.
Why do they always have to go bigger?
Run!
By the world's greatest storytellers.
Things are about to get wild.
Show them what you got.
It's entertainment time.
Okay, let's go, let's go.
It's SkyShowtime.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. It's great to be with you. Georg, thank you for that very kind introduction. I've seen that sizzle reel a lot of times. It never gets old, still exciting to me. So let me set the stage for all of you. It was about 15 months ago that I was named CEO of this exciting new joint venture. It was a very exciting time. Paramount and Comcast were coming together. They were bringing together the best of both companies, their best content, their best technology, and two of their most premium brands. And everyone said, oh my God, this is so exciting, a new streaming service. Wow, that's so cool. And we were launching across 22 markets in Europe. People couldn't believe it. And And everyone thought it was a great idea. Here were two companies that were coming together and going into new markets they hadn't been in before in streaming. And it was a great new way for streaming to continue to grow. At the time I was living in the United States, I was working at Comcast, but I had to get started right away. You know, we got regulatory approval in February, and we were set to launch just a few months later. So I flew over to Europe. I had to start building a team. We had nothing. It was just me. And I got to work, hiring a team and everything. My wife and kids stayed behind in Philadelphia. They were going to join me later on. But there was a lot of work, but there was a lot of excitement looking forward to launching this new streaming service. But just 2 months after I arrived in Europe, the world changed. Overnight. Netflix lost subscribers. And when they announced that, they lost about 70% of their market cap. And all of a sudden, the global narrative around streaming changed. People all of a sudden said, oh my God, streaming is dying. Oh my God, is this the end of streaming? And all of the people who had been congratulating me and telling me that this was a great idea and a great new venture, they started saying something else to me. They said, are you crazy? Are you launching another streaming service? Does the world need another streaming service? Isn't this the worst time to launch a new streaming service? My wife asked me, is it too late to get your old job back? So, and this was to be honest, for me, it was a little bit surprising. And it made me wonder, could SkyShowtime be the last streaming service? I mean, that's what everybody was saying, right? To me, it seemed a little strange. Streaming as a business had really only started in 2007. So here we were 15 years later, and we went from streaming is amazing, streaming's growing, it's the future, everyone's getting behind streaming, to all of a sudden streaming's dead. All in the space of 15 years. There was something about that to me that just didn't make sense. So let me put it all in perspective for you. What if this were the last car? What if 15 years after Henry Ford made the Model T, he said, guess what? Our work here is done. Send the boys at the factory home. We perfected this thing. It's got 4 wheels. It's got lights. We got lights. It's got doors. Doors are good. We've got a steering wheel. We've got seats. We're done. This is it. Who needs more than this? What if this were the last TV? What if television stopped in the 1940s? They said, you know what? We love this glass tube. Who needs color? I can't even imagine having an image in color. You know what? The picture quality is terrible. Let's leave it as is. No antenna, no cable, nothing. We like our 2 channels. What if television just stopped evolving? Now, it sounds silly to be standing here with all of you here today and to say those things. Because, of course, cars didn't stop evolving and getting better and improving. Television didn't stop evolving, getting better and improving. I mean, think about cars. We went from, yes, we have seats, to all of a sudden, oh, we have power seats. Now we have heated seats. And we went from having just some kind of engine to having gas, hybrid, diesel, electric. We went to adding colors to the cars, not just all in black. We added windows. Windows are a good thing. And then we added power windows. So the evolution of the car continued well after it had been around for 15 years. And when it comes to entertainment, well, we kept evolving too. We went from silent movies to movies, and then television came and it expanded our entertainment choices and how we thought about things. And we evolved from black and white to color. We evolved from 1 channel to hundreds. We moved from antennas to cable to satellite. We went from small screens to bigger screens, from glass tubes to LED screens, from SD to HD. And eventually we moved from cable to satellite to streaming. And yet, despite change being the only constant in all of what we do as human beings, there were so many people who thought we had reached the end of the line with streaming. I'm here to tell you today that's not true. Streaming is not dead. Reports of its demise have been greatly exaggerated. And streaming is still growing. We are still innovating. In fact, even a joint venture like SkyShowtime is a form of innovation. People talk a lot about the streaming wars. I don't believe there are streaming wars, because to me, wars mean a war has someone who wins and someone who loses. That's a zero-sum game. And I don't believe that. I don't believe there are streaming wars. I believe there's streaming competition. And I believe there's room in the marketplace for multiple streaming services. Providing consumers with more choice, more content, more options, great content, a great experience at a great price, that is always going to be a good thing. So what makes SkyShowtime so special is that we were actually created for Europe. These are our markets here on one page. You can see the map. Because we were specifically created for Europe, that makes us special. No other major streaming service can say that. We were designed for these markets. So beginning in September 2022, we began our rollout across these markets. We started our launches in September, we finished in February, so all of 5 months, 20 weeks, over 20 markets. That's a pretty remarkable fast clip. And considering I'd only gotten there a year before, it's even more remarkable. So we've only been live across all of these markets for less than 90 days. We had our last launches at the end of February in Spain. And as you can see, we're in North Europe, we're in the Netherlands and the Nordics, we're in Southern Europe, in Spain and Portugal, and then we're in Central and Eastern Europe. These markets are very, very different. Now, there's richness in their diversity. We celebrate that. That is a part of our identity. We're proud of that. We have 7 offices throughout these countries. I have a team of close to 200 people, all come from these different regions. I think our team speaks 21 languages. Our content is available. There's 18 languages spoken here, and our team speaks most of them. So, but these markets are different. They have different economies, obviously different languages. They enjoy different kinds of content. But more than that, they're at different places in the streaming voyage. So for that reason, I like to say, you know what, we didn't just launch one service. Sometimes people say, oh, you launched a European streaming service. I didn't just launch one service. These markets are so different that we essentially launched multiple streaming services. The service that we operate that targets subscribers in the Netherlands is very different than the Nordics. Subscribers in Spain are very different than subscribers in Portugal. Subscribers in Central and Eastern Europe are all very different too. They're not a monolith. And so we focus on customizing our experience for customers all over these different markets. But despite their differences, these markets all have one thing in common. Streaming is growing. Streaming is growing in every one of these markets. Across our markets, you look at every metric. No matter how you measure it, streaming is only growing. So just to give you just a baseline for comparison, in the United States, there are about 4 SVOD subscriptions per household. 4 streaming subscriptions per household. In North Europe, there's less than 3. In Spain and Poland, less than 2. There's a tremendous amount of room for growth and headroom. Look at these statistics. In Central and Eastern Europe, half of all households don't even have one streaming subscription. How can streaming be over? How can streaming be dying? Look at this. So there's a tremendous amount of growth in our markets. And that's why we like to say, across all of our markets, it's time for a new streaming service. It's time for a service created specifically for Europe. It's time for SkyShowtime. We are not a flyover service. We are through and through a European service. And in just 1 year, we've grown our presence. We've grown our commitment to original programming in these markets. And it demonstrates how being local is not just important to being relevant, but being successful. As I said, we're available in 18 languages. That sizzle reel you saw at the outset that was in English, no one in any one of our markets will see that. That was just for us. They'll see it in their local language. All of our marketing is made available in 18 languages. All of our content is localized in 18 different languages. Our technology, our platform, our apps, all available, 18 different languages. So, and that really sort of tells you a lot about what our mission is. Our mission is to bring together the best of Hollywood and the best of local all in one place. Georg talked a little bit about the people behind SkyShowtime, our shareholders. Comcast and Paramount are two of the largest, most successful entertainment companies in the world. And you think about their brands, they're known everywhere. Universal Pictures, Paramount Pictures. We've all been in a darkened movie theater and you see that Paramount Mountain. You see the Universal Globe. You know that it's quality. You know what you're in store for. You know that you're going to get great entertainment. Everyone knows those brands. They know DreamWorks. They know Nickelodeon. They know NBC. They know Paramount Plus, Peacock, Sky, and of course Showtime. These are global brands. That's who we are. That's our DNA. We bring that together all in one place. So, as a joint venture, because we are owned by these two great companies, we have an exceptionally strong content pipeline, the best entertainment from both of these companies. And we give people in our markets access to all of it. It's a unique proposition that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. Look at this slide of wallpaper here. Look at the breadth of content that we offer. Look at the quality. Look at the variety. There's literally something here for everyone in the family. We have the biggest new stuff. We have the best library, all of it in one place. And Paramount and Universal, let's talk about the films for a few minutes. You know, these are the two oldest studios in Hollywood. Each one is over 100 years old. And last year, they had 3 of the top 5 movies in the world. All of those movies are on SkyShowtime. We came out of the gate strong. 3 of the top movies of 2022 are on SkyShowtime today. That's what we had at launch. Top Gun Maverick, Jurassic World Dominion, Minions Rise of Gru. Amazing. Think about the amount of box office that is there on the service available to subscribers. And more than that, we have a tremendous number of great movies that are still coming on the service. You saw in the sizzle reel, we have Ticket to Paradise with George Clooney, Julia Roberts. We have other big movies coming. We have Megan, we have Bros, we have She Said, we have Babylon. And all of that keeps coming. We get all of their theatrical releases. Oh, sorry. In addition, on the series side, sneak peek of what's to come. On the series side, we have a tremendous amount too. You know, we are the home to the Taylor Sheridan universe. So all of those great shows, Yellowstone starring Kevin Costner, 1923 starring Harrison Ford, Helen Mirren, Tulsa King, Mayor of Kingstown, all of that. We are the exclusive home for the Taylor Sheridan universe. And in addition to that, we have new Taylor Sheridan show that will be coming. It's called Special Ops Lioness. It stars Zoe Saldana, Nicole Kidman, Morgan Freeman. That'll be coming later this year. And all of these shows will be returning. We have big franchise IP when it comes to series. We have Star Trek Strange New Worlds and Halo, all coming back for new seasons. So now we talked about all of the great stuff that we're getting from our shareholders, that great big content pipeline. I want to talk to you a little bit about originals. Originals are a big part of our strategy. Originals are what set streaming services apart. They're branded. They tell people they're exclusive to you. They bring people in. And we have a strategy that covers both global shows and local shows. So I'm excited to share with you that we have 2 global shows that will be premiering as SkyShowtime originals. The first is The Curse. It stars Emma Stone. That will be coming hopefully later this year. And I'm excited to announce that the critically acclaimed hit Poker Face will be coming exclusively to SkyShowtime. It will be branded as a SkyShowtime original. This is huge. This is a big hit, obviously in the United States. Stars Natasha Lyonne. It's a mystery of the week style. It's not a whodunit, it's a how catch 'em. So it's a very, very good show. We're very excited about it. There's been a lot of buzz about it already in our markets, so we're excited to be the home for it. So those big shows, incredibly important. We're incredibly proud to have those big originals coming to SkyShowtime. But local is also really the cornerstone of our original strategy. Local, authentic stories that resonate with audiences, that have characters they can relate to, stories they can relate to, all of that. And our first Polish language original will be premiering on SkyShowtime this summer. Warszawianka stars a very well-known Polish actor. His name's Boris Szczyt. He's as big in Poland as Natasha Lyonne is in the United States, just to give you an example. It's a fantastic show. And I'm going to give you a little taste of that and some of our other local originals with another sizzle reel.
Sohasem tudhatja, hogy ki a barát és ki az ellenség. Mo cos'era il protagonista?
Sjutton har bjudit.
Vi håller på med en undersökning om medelålders kvinnors sexualliv.
Podobno żyje się dla pojedynczych chwil. Oczywiście to złudzenie.
Sorpresivamente llegan dos curas del Vaticano y de repente desaparecen todos.
Tía, ¿tú crees que hemos cambiado?
Yo creo que no.
Thank you. So you know, this is our first year of existence, and we're premiering 10 original series. 10 original series in our first year. I think that's pretty much unheard of for a new streaming service to come out of the gate so strong. You saw some of the shows there. Some of them are already on the service. We have Bozé. We launched with Bozé in Spain. We have Por Hecho Por Bay. We have Los Enviados, Season 1. Season 2 will be coming soon. And then another Spanish language original called The Invisibles that will also be coming. In addition, some of the shows that you didn't see there, we have a great comedy, a Czechoslovakian comedy called The Winner that will also be premiering on SkyShowtime later this year. And our first original, a Nordic noir series for Finland and Sweden. I'm excited to share the title with all of you today. It's going to be called Codename Annika. So that is a bit of news. So bringing all of this together, I think you saw it. You see it with the breadth and depth of what we have from our shareholders. You see it with our local programming. SkyShowtime is the best of the best. The best of big, global, international shows, the best in local series. That is what we are about. And when you see all of that, and you see the remarkable response we've received in our markets, you see the success that we're having, huge subscriber numbers surpassing our projections. You see the engagement on the platform, record number of hours watched across all of our markets. You see all of that, and you know why I'm excited about SkyShowtime. You know I'm excited about the future of streaming. And so to those who asked if we're the last streaming service, the answer is no. We aren't. Of course we aren't. Streaming isn't over. Streaming is just the latest chapter in the history of television. And it's a chapter that is still being written. There's more evolution, more innovation to come. The opportunity for everyone in streaming is still growing. The best isn't behind us, the best is yet to come. So for anyone who thinks the party is over, I say the party is just getting started. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this, Monty.
Thank you.
We now have time for questions from the audience. If you have any questions, please raise your hand like the gentleman in the front row and we'll get a microphone to you. Yeah, we have somebody in the front row and I see some more hands going up. Let's start with the gentleman in the front row and go from there.
Yeah, I'll have kind of two quick questions. The first one is on the map of the markets that are getting there. You probably everyone noticed a bit of a gap in the middle.
Yeah.
That's not covered yet. Is there any ambition to cover those, or is it a bit of a problematic thing with other streaming services having exclusives on those markets? That's the first question. And the second question with local originals, is the main goal to have them be locally interesting, or is there a goal to find, well, as they say sometimes, global content that would be interesting in that region, but also that would have potential for global, being globally attractive?
Yeah, so both great questions. So the first one is, you know, SkyShowtime was created as part of the expansion for both Comcast and Paramount into markets where they didn't have a substantial presence or an already existing business. So markets where Sky already operated or Paramount Plus already operated, those are markets where we don't exist. We exist in those markets where they don't exist. In terms of the local strategies, I think first and foremost, we start with the fact that we are all about content. We are about storytelling. So we look for great stories. Let's just start there. And we want stories that resonate with our customers in all of these markets. So let's also start with that too. Let's lay those things both as the foundation. Obviously, it's great if you can find a show that travels. And I think what we've seen with originals on streaming services is that local culture is becoming global culture. You now have people watching any streaming service will have international programming. And for the first time, even audiences in the United States are okay watching something with subtitles. It's expanded their horizons, expanded what's available to them. So obviously, you know, we buy these shows, we think about creating these shows and telling these stories because we believe that they resonate with our subscribers first and foremost. If they travel, that's great. That's certainly something we take into account. And we hope that's the case. We think some of these shows are fantastic and are just compelling stories that people will want to see. It's just part of the things that we take into account.
Can I ask a quick follow-up question there, Monty? So you announced codename Annika that will launch in the Nordics, and then how do you assess whether you roll that out? What metrics do you look at to figure out whether this goes to Spain or the Netherlands or?
We make our originals available across all of our territories, but obviously when we talk about it, we talk about the markets that it's primarily geared towards, where we think it's going to have most resonance, and you know that's a Finnish and Swedish production, so that's why we classify it that way.
Perfect. So there's a young lady back there and then a young lady over there.
Hi, it's here.
Oh.
So I wanted to ask about the strategy of the original content of SkyShowtime, like in the next 5 years, because obviously you launched in so many markets right now. And I'm from Poland myself, so I'm familiar with the Warszawianka project, because obviously it was, before it was the SkyShowtime, it was HBO Max, and it was like bought from them because they stopped their local productions. So my question would be, are you planning to, you know, get an office in Poland and start producing local content there? Or what is the strategy for the next 5 years, let's say? Do you have it?
Yeah. Another great question. So I would say, number one, we look to where the great stories are. And some of those stories will be acquisitions. Some of the originals we do will be acquisitions. Some of them will be developed in-house. Some of them will be co-productions. So we're open to a range of different models. It just so happened that these were fantastic shows and they were available. And so that's why we acquired them. We already have a programming executive focused on Central and Eastern Europe. She is based in Poland. So we are looking, I mean, that is the reason why we have 7 local offices. That is why we have teams everywhere, is not just for distribution and partnerships and marketing, but also to source great projects. So we're already meeting with showrunners and producers in our markets and looking at various different projects.
We have a question back there.
Oh, yes, it's working now. Hi, Joanna Szymańska, Polish producer as well. Thank you for super entertaining, you know, storytelling. That was great. I have 2 questions. First, about feature-length films. I mean, your brand is massive. You're working with A-class stars. Is this something you will be looking for in terms of feature films from, let's say, Central and Eastern Europe? And the second question, are you open to work with CEE talents, but in English? If we are a bit more ambitious and we want to do English language shows, would you be open to support that as well?
I think we're open to anything and everything. We will always start by looking for great stories. So I would love to have conversation with you and see what you're thinking about. In terms of feature films, I think you're talking about like local, regional films. That's an important part of the mix. We want to super serve our customers in these markets. And so series are important, films are important.
I'll ask a quick follow-up question, and then we have a question over there. Monty, how do you think about windowing? I know in the streaming world, windowing and mixing maybe theatrical releases and streaming releases. How do you think about this if you have, for example, a movie?
That's also a great question. That's like a topic du jour in streaming. I have always believed that a theatrical release is incredibly important. It adds value to the film. I don't think that takes anything away from when it appears on streaming. In fact, it enhances it. The fact that Top Gun Maverick was a theatrical release made it a bigger movie. It brought that much more attention. It came to us with brand equity. It was a recognizable film. So you want that, right? You want those kinds of, and there are films that deserve to be in theaters. and deserve to have long theatrical releases. Top Gun is a movie that should be experienced in theaters. You have the roaring jet engines, all of it, all of the special effects. Big special effects movies should be seen in theaters. So theatrical release, that window will always be important, will always still exist. I think people can enjoy a piece of content, a film, in the theater and also enjoy it at home later. I don't think that those are mutually exclusive. There are going to be films that have shorter theatrical releases and some that don't and come straight to streaming. But I'm a big supporter of all of the windows.
Sounds great. We'll go to a question here, and then I think there's somebody waving over here later.
Yes, hello. I just wanted to follow up on the earlier question about local language and ask, what is your view in general, and if it's any different in your mind from other streamers, about the use of local language in the markets as a primary objective for the productions that are local original programming, or if there are times when it is actually sensible and even advisable to use English?
I think that's really project and story specific. Obviously, when you're producing local programming, you want it to resonate with subscribers that are in that market. And that's why we do focus on shows that are in local language, right? So take Codename Annika, for instance. That's in both Finnish and Swedish. It takes place in Stockholm. It's a Finnish cast. Warszawianka is in Polish. I think that is that has to be in Polish. I mean, even the city of Warsaw is really a character in the show. And so I would say it's very project specific and project driven. And it's about whether we think audiences in that particular market will still come to that story and be drawn to it if it's in English.
Let's go over here, please.
Hello, this way.
Hi.
If a great TV series story comes from Georgia, the country Georgia, where there is no Sky TV, and it's in a non-English language, but it's a great story. How do we reach you, or would you even consider?
I think we'd always consider great content. I think in order to obviously properly monetize that content, you have to make sure that you get distribution, secure distribution in your home market. But of course, we would consider it to be on the platform.
But Monty, how much do you think about maybe doing multi-language things beyond a certain region? We're doing Finnish and Swedish. Are you considering doing, Spanish and Eastern European or something? Or is that thinking a little bit too much into the future?
So from a business perspective, you would love to have a show that travels, right? You would love to have a show that says, oh my God, it's in it's in the 18 different languages. But really, you want to do the show that's right, and you want to do justice by the show, and you don't want to force fit something. So would it be great if the show had multiple languages and I could say, oh, it works in this country? Absolutely. But we're not going to do that. We want storytellers to come and have a great home at SkyShowtime, where they feel that they can tell the story they want to tell, where they can tell the authentic stories they want to tell. And so we wouldn't force fit it. If it made sense, let's say you were doing a series about something that was a shared experience across Europe, right? Let's say you were doing a limited series about the aftermath of World War II. Okay, that is something that was a shared collective experience across Europe. You can easily see that taking place in multiple countries, multiple languages, multiple storylines. That lends itself to it. So I think if the story itself lends itself to it, then yes, we would do that.
Sounds great. We have a question in the middle, gentleman right in the middle, and then somebody in the front row on the right. Let's go to the gentleman in the back.
Hi, brilliant talk. Thanks very much for the overview. It's fantastic. So, in terms of with SkyShowtime and the pre-existing companies, obviously, because like Sky, UK, Germany, they're already pre-existing. So, is this now sort of a very integrated strategy with, for example, Paramount Plus, because they also operate States, UK, and Western Europe as well? Is it sort of a very integrated strategy now amongst all of the different sub-companies as well? Like if you're making something in the UK, you're thinking immediately, instead of just, okay, this is how it falls under Sky, it's now, how does it fall under SkyShowtime as well as Sky?
The great thing is that we are an independent company, and so we do what's best for us, for our markets. That's what we're focused on. We wake up every single day and we think about those 20-plus markets and what works there. I don't think about what's going to work in Italy or Germany or England, anywhere else. So it has to ultimately, it has to work for us when we talk about originals. And if it travels and if it works for one of our shareholders, great, so be it. They're also going to make the best independent decisions for their business. And if a show that we make, if Varshavyanka works for Paramount Plus or for Sky and they want to bring it to the UK, that's fantastic, that's great. But we make the shows that will work for us and for our consumers.
Sounds great. Let's go to the right-hand side over here in the front row.
Hi, do you think, because you're a big part of the sort of the global strategy of Showtime in general, Comcast, that the writer's strike and pending Directors Guild SAG strike is going to affect your strategy and potential production costs and then subscription costs? How do you feel about that?
So first of all, I'll say that obviously I think like everyone in the industry, we hope that the writer's strike is resolved quickly. You know, you look at all of that great content, at its heart, it's great writing. So I don't think the writer's strike is good for anyone. I hope that they do find resolution for it soon. It will impact our pipeline just like it will impact everyone else's pipeline. I think we're all susceptible to that when it comes to the shows that we're getting from our shareholders. With respect to European productions, that's an area where we will continue to have, I think, very strong showing, and we will continue to have content should the strike go on too long.
Now, Monty, I wonder how you think about the mix of genres. So much focus in streaming is traditionally on premium drama, right?
Yeah.
How do you think about drama versus comedy versus documentaries, maybe even reality TV? Is that all an option, or do you focus mostly on one of those?
Everything's an option. Everything is on the table. We never say no to a particular thing. Again, I keep saying it, and I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself, but it comes down to stories. And if there's a compelling story that's a documentary, of course, nonfiction has a place. Reality might have a place. And if it's comedy or drama, our originals, if you look at the slate, it's a pretty broad slate. We've got a comedy, we've got drama, we've got a dramedy, I would say, with Varshavyanka. So we've just been drawn to whatever we think is compelling. And it starts with quality, I'd say, before it starts with anything else. Is this something that is worthy of having the SkyShowtime brand? Is this something that we feel is something that consumers couldn't get anywhere else? Is this an experience that is worth paying for, right? We're in the subscription business. So it has to have that feel to it.
Have you at all thought about developing maybe franchises that you can roll out in different markets, like the bridge, we have this in these two markets that have a border with each other, and now we're maybe gonna bring it to another, in another version to another locality where it makes sense to maybe tweak the story in a different way. Have you thought about that at all?
Potentially. We actually have a show that's a really interesting format, and we've thought that it works in this particular territory. We know it works in this territory. Should we bring it to some other markets of ours? So yeah, we've thought about that already.
Is it a secret? What
it is a secret. I have to save something for future stories, Georg, so you cover me in 6 months. We'll talk about it later.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I see there's somebody in the back eager to ask a question.
Actually, it's just a thank you, Monty. I used to be a dance choreographer in US and Europe, and I transitioned to narrative film directing, and streaming platforms have been a way for me to use the content as education. I can rewind it, I can watch it 20 times and just pay the one streaming price per month. I don't have to pay for another movie ticket. But it also opens me up to other countries and other cultures' ways of visual storytelling that I wouldn't get in film school necessarily. So thank you for another streaming service.
Thank you, that is so kind. That's so sweet, thank you.
I see there's another question in the very, very back.
Hello, yes, I'm a sales agent from Germany, and I'm just wondering, since you say you are open to all genres, are you also open to other formats like short films?
We haven't to date, but never say never. So I think we've opened the aperture. We're looking at a variety of different things. So I think we would take a look at stuff.
How do you think going forward? Is there anything that you're looking at adding in terms of functionality to the platform? You know, I know it's often about navigation and search and discovery and things like this. Is there anything that you have in the works where you want to enhance SkyShowtime with anything further?
We're always looking to improve the experience. You know, if you optimize your business for the customer and you think customer first, you will always be successful. So if you think customer first from a content perspective, if you think customers first from an experience perspective, you'll always win. And so we always think about how can we optimize the experience? What is the UI like? What's the UX? What's the overall consumer experience that they have when they subscribe to SkyShowtime? So we're always improving things. We're improving the recommendation algorithms. We're doing more in terms of curation. I think human curation is underrated. I think there's still something to be said for humans putting together collections that people might want to see. But yeah, we're always looking at things, and there's always going to be a next frontier for how people experience content through the app.
Sounds great. There's a question from the gentleman again in the front row. He started off and he's coming back for another one.
Yeah, well, just as the conversation was going, had a bit of a follow-up. Sure. In regards to the markets that you're covering and them being limited to Europe at this point, and with some countries off the table, let's say if there's a project coming in with global ambition, would you say that for them collaborating with Showtime would be something that could potentially limit their global reach, or otherwise something that is Showtime open to having their original then also go on other global platforms? So could collaborating with Showtime limit a global ambition for a project?
So any project, they're always looking for distribution. They want ubiquitous distribution. They want people everywhere to experience that show or that film or to have access to it. And so if your question is whether doing a deal with us would limit somebody, no, they still have the other territories and the rest of the world to sell. Certainly, obviously, when we look for content, we want to have exclusive windows. That matters to us. So that would limit their ability to sell to someone in our markets at the same time. But I actually think selling to SkyShowtime unlocks value because we do cover over 20 markets. And so that's one-stop shopping. They don't have to go and sell in individual markets. So in some ways, it makes it easier.
There's somebody all the way in the right back, and then we might go back to... Okay, we'll start up front. No, we'll go to the back first, and then the gentleman with another follow-up. Thank you.
Yes, hello, thank you. Mikołaj Pokromski, another producer from Poland. I have a question regarding exclusivity and second run. Could you imagine for example, on those territories which you named, to agree on the second run, right? To have a project after Netflix or Amazon in certain window, but not have exclusive right for that. Is it acceptable, or you want to have exclusive right and exclusive project for your platform?
So for second run, it's very different than for originals. So second run, I think that exclusivity matters less. Exclusivity is nice, but I think availability trumps exclusivity. I think we want to have as much content as we think that our subscribers want, the stuff that they want to watch. And I'd rather have it than have my competitor have it exclusively. So I'm more flexible. We're more flexible as a company when it comes to second windows on things.
Before we go to the gentleman up front, I have a follow-up question, Monty. How do you think about the importance of regularly having fresh content? You mentioned 10 originals in this first full year of operation. Do you have like a target of we need to get to one fresh original a week, a month, or how do you think about frequency of fresh content?
So because of the great content pipeline we have from both Comcast and Paramount, as well as our originals, we essentially have an always-on strategy. If you look, there is new content that premieres every single week, all year round on SkyShowtime. And that is an important part of the value proposition, that consumers, when they come in, they will find something to watch, not just something that they want to watch, but something new that's fresh. And so that is an important part, I think, of streaming. people get tired of seeing the same stuff. And so whether it's even our library, film or series or new stuff, there's always fresh stuff coming to the platform all the time.
Sounds great. I think we'll go to the gentleman here, and then there's somebody in the second row next.
Hello. I'm curious. I work in physical production, actually in production services. I helm a network of service companies around the globe, and that includes a lot of localized footprints in various countries where you're operating. My question is, how involved do you get in physical production, and where there may be producers who are filming principally in one country but then have a story that takes them to another? Do you have any influence in that at all, or do you sometimes open their eyes to different possibilities? How much do you delve in, and how much do you just leave it to them?
It's a great question. I think it's still very early days for us in terms of original programming. But obviously, when you're involved, especially in developing a project, you weigh in, you provide comments, you think about whether this location versus that location makes sense, both from the story's perspective, but also from an economics perspective. So is there a rebate or incentive program or scheme in a particular country where it makes sense to film? Would you reduce production costs if you shot here instead of there? So I think every service, every production company, everybody weighs in on those kinds of decisions. And certainly I think with the stuff that we're going to be developing, we would also, have a perspective on that.
Now we have the gentleman in the second row, right in the middle.
That last question sort of is a part of my questioning, about budgets. I own a production company in Budapest, and we produce actually like Russian Doll, second season, so Natasha Lyonne, wonderful person, by the way, a force of nature, as you could say. We're working with A24, and we're working with a lot of people that, obviously Netflix, when they came to us to do these part of the second season, the last 4 episodes, there was a budget crunch at that point because they had spent their money in New York, and A24 talk about all efficiency. And, so my question is, are you looking for partners that are able to do that kind of like that big international quality? Because I love what you were saying about quality, because production value is absolutely everything. Because you could have the greatest idea in the world, if it's not produced right, if it doesn't have that extra juice, it's not really going to travel too far. So your budgets for original programming and the partners you seek out, which I'm sort of what he was getting at, is like, what's that process? Is the budget like, are you guys like, we do 5 to 10 million, we're doing?
So again, because it's early days, and I think because we are so driven by finding the right projects, the right stories, it's not like we say, well, we're only doing shows that are of a certain budget. If somebody comes to us with a period piece that's fantastic, that we think is going to do well, okay, obviously the budget is going to be different for that. If somebody comes to us with something that has a lot of visual effects, or it's a sci-fi show, but we think it's going to be fantastic, that's got a different budget attached to it. So I think it's really project specific. It's hard to say. We haven't said, oh, well, this is the maximum we're going to spend, or this is the sweet spot. I think we're still an incredibly new service. We still want to try different things, experiment, and I think that's the fun and exciting part of it. I think when you talk about other established streaming services, they probably have a lane that they want to stay in. They know, okay, well, this is what works for me, so this is what I just want to keep doing the same. And we're not at that place yet. I think we want to still have variety and range and look at other stuff.
Can we get a mic to the person in the front row, please? Thank you.
My question is about American sensibility, so to speak, and streaming services being brought all over the world. Because we have a kind of tradition of European cinema, and I'm a filmmaker myself, of provocative cinema and of kind of nudity involved and storytelling that is really direct and provocative. And we had problems with Amazon Prime even censoring the picture, although it was a drawing. And so I'm asking you, is there gonna be space on Showtime for that interesting, provocative content, which is a bit off of the usual American sensibilities, where you don't have to have a word with 5 asterisks in the middle, but you can just, talk about real life issues.
So I would say, first of all, let me say that we don't have American sensibilities because we are a European streaming service.
That's good.
And that's why we have 7 offices throughout our markets. That's why we have local teams. That's why we have local programming executives, because we're sourcing the best projects, things that we think will resonate in our markets. Sometimes streaming services do that because you also have a problem with access. There are kids. And so sometimes there are things that get, and it's not because you're offending an adult sensibility, but it's because you worry about children having access to something or watching a piece of content. But certainly we want filmmakers and artists to be able to see their work in the way that it was intended.
Sounds great. I see there's a question in the back. Thank you so much. The microphone people are getting a lot of mileage.
I know.
Today.
We need more microphones.
Thank you.
My question is, in terms of original programming, what are the genres that you're looking for to produce?
We're looking at everything right now. As I mentioned, we have a comedy, we have drama, we have crime, we have a dramedy. And we have shows that have strong female leads, strong male leads. So we're looking with a very broad lens at a variety of different projects and we want things that resonate with the local audience. That's what it comes down to. And I think if you start from the place where you want to tell great stories, then it almost doesn't matter, because there are great stories that are comedies and great stories that are dramas and great stories that are thrillers. And there's a place for all of that.
There's another question in the back, and then we go to this gentleman, and then I think we have to wrap it up, unfortunately.
And how do we pitch to you?
Don't throw scripts at the stage right now, please.
So if you come afterward, we'll give you some contact information for people on our programming team, and you can get in touch with them. It's a pretty simple, streamlined process.
Okay, let's get 2 more in. This gentleman, and then over there.
Sorry, that pretty much answers my question. If it was exclusively through like sales agents, managers, and agents and stuff like that, or if there is a specific acquisitions team where it's kind of like just approach them. And
we've got an acquisitions team. Again, depends on which market, and we can put you in touch with them.
Okay, let's go to the final question over there.
I think I'm almost the same question. We have some documentaries done, and how can we present it in the acquisition? And
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll share the contact information with you afterward. I mean, it is a market after all, so yeah.
There will be so many people after
exactly.
coming to you for the contacts. Too much. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a lady on the right who tried earlier and is trying one last time now. Let's get her question as well.
Thank you for the last question. I'm also a producer from Hungary, and I just wanted to ask if you are planning to making a hub-like thing in Central Europe, and are you also open for co-productions? Or motivate doing co-productions between these regional countries, because it sounds a very new thing that you develop your...
Yeah, we're very much open to co-pros. Codename Annika obviously takes place across 2 countries. The winner is a Czech and Slovakian production. So, we're very much open to things that cross territories, that are co-pros. Sorry, I was just distracted by that. But yes, in terms of a hub, I think that's still early days. Obviously, there are some companies that are setting up European hubs, and especially in Poland, and those are things that we would look at down the line.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm wanted to wrap it up. I just wanted to ask anything. We threw so many questions at you. Anything that we didn't ask about that you spend a lot of time with that you would like to emphasize or share with the audience here before you go back to work?
I think they asked so many great questions. There's nothing that they didn't cover.
Then let me ask you, when you're here in Cannes, what do you get to do the rest of the day? Do you just have business meetings? Do you watch any films? Do you have time for that even?
I haven't had time yet, but we'll try to maybe see one of the films later today, yeah.
That sounds great. Well, I would say thank you so much for all the great questions. And as Monty said, there's some information to be shared with people who are interested in providing pitches. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Garrett. Appreciate it.